Women who get together with other women are healthier, happier, and stronger.
Now we can make some figure eights with our hips. Figure eight, figure eight, figure eight, figure eight. Woo!
By the time I met Mickey, I had already contemplated suicide and I was developing a plan. That's how dark my life had gotten.
Because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me.
Welcome to Prime Time for Women, the show for and about women in their prime. As you know, Prime Time for Women celebrates female creativity and wisdom. It is such a pleasure to feature inspiring women who continue to evolve in the second half of life, women who discover new interests and opportunities and pursue them with gusto. I'm excited to welcome Annette Cormany to today's show. Annette, whose gardening column is regularly featured in the Herald Mail, is the extension educator for horticulture and the Master Gardener program in Washington County for the University of Maryland. But she wasn't always a gardening guru. And today, this self-described recovering corporate creature will share her inspiring story from office worker to happy gardener, as well as gardening tips for all of us. Welcome, Annette. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here. So, Annette, you're such an inspiration to us. You felt trapped in a job, and then you made some changes. So, I was wondering, how did you make that decision? How did that play out for you?
Well, I really didn't feel trapped. I had a very successful 25-year corporate career as a communication director, but my green thumb started to itch.
Okay.
And my gardening, which was a hobby, became a passion, and I wanted to follow it where it led me.
Okay, and what did it feel like at that time to change courses? You know, did you put a notice in and then do this, or did you get a job and then put your notice in? How did that play out for you?
I actually didn't have a job lined up when I did this, but I had a plan.
Okay.
So I was able to take every gardening course I could get my hands on and work at a nursery and become a master gardener, which led me to Extension, where I can teach other people about gardening.
Did you ever receive a bit of advice during that early phase that you've held on to and passed on to others?
Well, I was fortunate to grow up among gardeners.
Okay.
So from my grandmother, I learned that gardening can be fun. We would do things like make snapdragon flowers talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And from my father, I learned persistence and creativity. He was an amazing gardener. He had 10-foot tomato plants that he harvested with a ladder. So, you know, I knew that gardening was hard work, but it could be creative and it could be fun.
That's great. So in preparing for today's interview, I did a little bit of research, and I found out the University of Maryland Extension has 57 programs in 8 different areas and employs 200 faculty members and 200 support. Well, that's a lot of people. Can you share with our audience the programs and how they can access that information?
Okay. Well, Extension's name kind of says it all. We are an extension of the University of Maryland. We're the outreach education branch of the University of Maryland. So it's our job to be teaching in our community, giving people ideas that work, mm-hmm. solving problems, improving life in areas like health and nutrition, farm, family, finance, 4-H. That's a lot of F words, but we help people in a lot of different ways. And our idea is really to be solutions in the community that are research and fact-based.
Well, that's super, and I know you have so much more to share with us, but first we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read...
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
...are their patients. Meritus Medical Group, home to your extraordinary doctor.
The DVR, it's changed the way we watch TV. And now, Antietam Broadband takes you to the next level with TiVo. Find your favorites on cable or streaming video faster with voice-activated integrated search. Record up to 6 channels at once and watch from any TV in your home. TiVo from Antietam Broadband. It will change your life. Call today or visit AntietamBroadband.com to learn more.
Welcome back. We're talking with Annette Cormany, the extension educator. That's what I do. Extension educator for Washington County and the Master Gardener. She's here today to fill us in on some of the things that she does. I know you have a really big job. Maybe you could talk about some of the most common questions that you get and your role in supporting gardeners in our community.
I'm the extension educator for horticulture, which means I'm basically the garden guru. You can call me the garden guru. I solve problems. I teach people safe, effective ways to garden that not only build healthy backyards, but healthy communities.
Right.
So I do this with talks, I do this with my column that you mentioned, I write blogs, I work with the most amazing group of master gardeners. Basically any way I can get people to stop so I can teach them how to have a green thumb and make that green thumb greener is what I do, and it's all research based. So you asked for a typical scenario of what I do. My neighbor had a squash plant that was vigorous, drank its coffee black, so healthy, and the next morning it collapsed, absolutely collapsed, looked like it had been shot dead, squash vine borer. So I was able to teach them what you can do to prevent the problem, and I was able to write a column about that, to share that with other people.
Oh, now that's so helpful. Okay, I have a question for you. For the first time, we are overrun by squirrels, and they're like digging in our flower pots and out in our garden. Is that because we had a mild winter, or?
Well, last year was a really good mast year, which means the trees made lots of nuts.
Okay.
So there are more nuts down there buried that they're going after.
Okay.
So I think that's probably it.
Is there any way to discourage them? I don't care if they dig in the garden, but I don't like them to dig in my flower pots on my deck.
Yeah. Well, there's two things you can do. Number one, put out a squirrel feeder away from whatever you don't want them to bother.
Okay.
Corn is ideal. They absolutely love corn, or peanuts. Absolutely love that. And the other thing you can do is maybe create a physical barrier in your pots. Maybe put some chopsticks in there, or put some netting around it, or some wire, something to physically exclude them, because they want easy food. They're like us. They want easy food.
Is there any spray or like tea compost? Would that keep them away?
Unfortunately, no. There are some creatures that don't like certain scents, like deer or rabbits, but not with squirrels.
Oh, they like it all.
They like it all.
Okay, all right. So, Annette, I was wondering, in the current environment, are you still able to help people through COVID?
Yes, Extension has continued to serve the community through phone calls, by emails. We've actually done a lot of online learning, everything from YouTube videos to Zoom sessions to webinars to podcasts. So we are actively serving the community.
And are they archived so that folks can go back and look at them?
They can go to our website and get a link for anything that we've been able to teach online, yes.
So I was wondering, you know, you said you're a lifelong gardener and you had this itchy green thumb. Are there some health benefits to being out in the garden?
Oh my goodness, yes. Gardening is so good for you. I mean, first of all, you're outside.
Right.
In the fresh air and the sunshine, all good. You're moving, so gardening is good exercise. So it's good cardio, it's good stretching. Think of it as yoga in the garden. So there are so many health benefits, and that's just the physical. There's the mental too. Gardening is great therapy. You
Plus
just
it's
feel
creative,
better.
right?
And it's creative, and you're making beauty. You're feeding yourselves and your family, and you're bringing some beauty to the world.
Do you, when you teach your courses, do you teach just about vegetable and fruit gardening, or do you also do flower gardening?
Everything.
Everything. She's a jack of all trades, a Jill of all trades. That's great. How can people learn more about master gardening?
Well, they can go to our website or the Home and Garden Information Center website, or they can just call me. I believe we're going to post my phone number and email at the end of the session.
We definitely are. And then, Annette, I was wondering if you have a favorite story that you could share that kind of, I don't know, shows your interaction with your clients, or just something that's funny or memorable to you.
Well, what I love is when families come to see us. We have an event called the Pollinator Palooza every year that was inspired by the Master Gardeners, in which we teach people about how to attract bees and butterflies and basically be good to the earth. And when it first started, we'd get one person. Then that person, the woman would bring her spouse. Then that spouse would say, let's bring the kids. Last year when we had this event, we had 3 generations of families coming to the event. And they were not only learning, they were sharing with each other. The children were telling us about growing monarch butterflies from milkweed that they grew, and they saw the eggs laid, and then they saw the caterpillars. So I like to get people excited about gardening, and I like it to happen throughout the generations and throughout the community, and I think that's one of the best stories.
So that just reminds me, my granddaughter, both my granddaughter and my grandson were visiting over the 4th of July, but my granddaughter, who's 5, was out in our garden, and my husband said, oh, Nora, look at that little cute butterfly. And she goes, oh yeah, Pop, that's a cabbage white. And he's like, okay, I love that she knows that.
They know,
and,
they know.
And I think there's a gardening center down in Tacoma Park that she had gone to and taken a little class, and that's how she knew that it was a cabbage white. And so that's pretty special. In terms of attracting butterflies to your backyard, what are the best things to plant?
If you want to attract pollinators, and butterflies are among the pollinators, your best bet is to plant a wide variety of different flowering plants. They need flower, they need nectar. So things that start blooming in, say, April until frost. Most people get summer.
Right.
But earlier and later, because all those pollinators come out at different times and they all need to be fed.
So can you very quickly tell us some of those early spring pollinators and some of the later ones?
Okay, well, who loves hummingbirds?
Me.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, hummingbirds come in about mid-April. There aren't too many things blooming, so one of the best plants you can plant for hummingbirds is the native columbine. It's this sweet little red and yellow columbine, and it blooms mid-April exactly in concert with the hummingbirds.
Okay, that's great to know. So I hope all of our listeners out there who love hummingbirds are taking this advice. Before you leave, I was wondering if you could just say the web address and your phone number, and then we'll make sure we post it as well.
Okay, my email is acormany@umd.edu, and my phone number is 301-606-1142 currently. And our web address is always extension.umd.edu/Washington County.
Okay, that's great, and we'll make sure that we put that up on the screen for our viewers. And also, I just wanted to make sure our viewers know that Annette has a regular column in the Herald Mail. If you miss it, you can always go back and Google it. They're all there. I did that. They're great. She's a wonderful writer in addition to a terrific gardener. So, Annette, we're going to be wrapping up. I was just wondering if there's any little bit of advice you want to pass on to our viewers before we close.
Gardening should be fun. Get out there, try it. If you've never done it before, if you've never planted a seed or seen something grow or experienced that beauty, just try it. Jump in.
Okay. I'd like to thank Annette for being on our show. Not only did she share some great gardening tips, she willingly shared her story, her wisdom, and herself. Like Annette, may you listen to your inner voice and answer yes when you are invited to follow your dreams. One of my favorite gardening quotes is, "Gardening adds years to your life and life to your years." I don't know who the author is, but all I have to say is amen, sister. That's a great quote. Whether it's gardening or something else, as a woman in your prime, I encourage you to pursue interests that adds years to your life and life to your years. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read...
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
...are their patients. Meritus Medical Group. Home to your extraordinary doctor.
The DVR. It's changed the way we watch TV. And now, Antietam Broadband takes you to the next level with TiVo. Find your favorites on cable or streaming video faster with voice-activated integrated search. Record up to 6 channels at once and watch from any TV in your home. TiVo from Antietam Broadband. It will change your life. Call today or visit AntietamBroadband.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Prime Time for Women. I'm so glad you're here because you won't want to miss our next guest. On Prime Time for Women, we have lots of fun exploring light-hearted topics, talking about new hobbies, and celebrating unbelievable accomplishments. But sometimes life is beyond hard, and we want to acknowledge that. Sometimes life throws things at us that's so unexpected, so difficult, that we have no idea how to cope. Have you ever had a difficult setback or suffered a severe trauma? Have you ever had to face a life-altering event and not know what to do next? Have you experienced despair and just said to yourself, I just can't do it anymore, I quit? Well, if so, today's guest, Mary Kate Ryan from Lovettsville, Virginia, can relate. But more importantly, Kate will share her story and show you how it is possible to not only survive, but thrive after a catastrophic event. She's ambitious, she's tough, she's an inspiration. Welcome, Kate. Thanks for being here.
I'm so glad to be here. Just a slight correction, I'm living in Germantown, Maryland now.
Oh, you moved?
Yeah,
oh, okay, okay, all right.
Yes.
So, Kate, as a result of a car accident 36 years ago, you sustained some pretty serious injuries. Can you talk about that?
So we were on our way home from a wedding, 10:30 in the morning, just coming down the road in New York, came up over a hill, car broken down in front of us. We went to go around, our car flipped over. I was thrown out and I broke my neck at the lower level of my neck. I'm what is defined as an incomplete quadriplegic because I broke my neck, but I didn't sever my spinal cord. So I have affect of all 4 limbs. It's just the amount of, you know, hitting the spinal cord or hurting the spinal cord.
So, Kate, this isn't the focus of today's interview.
Right.
Right, but
just background.
Yeah, that's just background. We're going to get to talk about some of the amazing things that you've done. I was wondering if you could talk about briefly about some of the things that you have done since your recovering, and in particular, I was wondering if you talk a little bit about becoming Miss Wheelchair Maryland.
Well, that was in 1987, and I got into the pageant. I can't remember how I got into the pageant, but I had been in it the year before, was first runner-up in Miss Congeniality. You know, Miss Congeniality never wins the big prize. Competed the next year and became Miss Wheelchair Maryland, which is, we like to define it as an inner beauty pageant, because there are so many amazing women doing some amazing things from a chair. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things that I got to do were speak to high school graduations. I got to cut the ribbon on the new ramp to the governor's mansion, the governor at the time.
That was Governor Schaefer, right?
Governor Schaefer, yes.
Right.
I was in Life magazine with Mayor Kurt Schmoke. They were doing a big retrospective on Martin Luther King and looking at black mayors around the country. And just a lot of really fun things, events as Miss Wheelchair Maryland, and it was a really cool year. And then I got to compete in the Miss Wheelchair America pageant, and that was in Mobile, Alabama. Had a great time there too.
And you meet so many other people that are doing amazing things despite having some challenges, right?
Oh yeah.
Must have been incredibly inspiring.
It really was. And some of the women that I met, I'm like, wow, you really deserve this.
Well, that's great. I was wondering, Kate, your life moved forward, you got married, you had a child, you had a 30-year teaching career. What stories did you tell yourself? What messages did you give yourself?
So the 2 things I live by, the 2 axioms I live by. First, adapt or die. Human beings are the most adaptable creatures on earth. If you don't adapt, you die. Simple as that.
Okay.
And the other one is, and I'm not a overly religious person, I'm a very spiritual person, but where God closes a door, somewhere He opens a window. Mm-hmm. The thing about that is that you have to have the courage to go through the window.
Right.
And some people can look at that window for a long time and not go through. I have had a lot of windows in my life open, so I've tried to go through as many as I possibly could.
Well, and I can say, as a woman who raised 5 children, parenting with 2 arms and 2 legs is really challenging. What was it like giving birth to and then caring for a little baby, mostly a toddler, when they're running all over the place?
Well, it was challenging. Of course, you know, it's one of those things where you adapt to it every day. Every day something's different. You know, when my daughter was a baby, she would be in a bassinet, but she would be in like a little car seat kind of, or what do we used to call them, an infant seat.
Infant seat,
yeah.
right.
And in the basket, so that I could just pick her up. Mm-hmm. When she got to be crawling, I dressed her in overalls, so all she had to do as she's crawling by, I just reach down, pick her up, put her on my lap.
That's great. That's
and
great.
then, you know, you go through all the normal things, teenagers,
Yeah.
you know, all the normal things.
So one of the quotes that I read is that perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing the hard work you've already done. And I was wondering, you know, do you have a favorite quote that you live by?
Yeah, and I'm definitely, where God closes the door, He opens a window.
That's it.
That's my favorite quote of all time.
Well, I can't wait to hear more of your story, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, so we'll be right back in a few minutes.
"14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
are their patients. Meritus Medical Group, home to your extraordinary doctor.
So glad you're with us, Kate. I'm so glad you're still going to share some more stories with us. I was wondering during the commercial break, talking about some of the amazing things you've done. What do you consider one of your greatest accomplishments? I know there's many, but if you could talk about one.
Well, I was a special education teacher for 33 years in Montgomery County, and I worked with, during one of my stints in elementary school was with a program with children with physical disabilities. So I really am proud of being a role model for those children, and a role model for all my kids, but also instilling awareness in students that weren't in wheelchairs or didn't have the really difficulties that some of the children that I worked with had. And we did a whole big challenges day where I got the kids be in wheelchairs, pretend they were blind, pretend they were hearing impaired, pretend they were learning disabled, so that they could get the idea of what it was for these children to go through, what they go through on a daily basis.
That's great, because you're not only teaching those kids academic skill set, you're teaching them compassion and kindness and generosity.
Yeah, life skills that you need.
Right, and to see things from other people's perspectives.
Exactly.
But that in itself is something we all need to learn every day. Yeah, that's great. Kate, we all have different struggles in our life, and I was going to ask you if you could talk about one of the hurdles that you have faced.
How many?
Well, just one.
Just one. I always say, you know, I have problems just like everybody else. Mine are just a little different sometimes. I can't reach something, or something, I can't get up a curb, or, you know, things like that. Over the 36 years I've watched as awareness has improved so much. You know, I used to have to call everywhere I went to make sure I could get into a restaurant.
Right.
And so now things have gotten much better.
The ADA's made a big difference, right?
Yes, yes. There's still a ways to go in awareness of, you know, handicap parking. That's one of my real sticking points. But, you know, I think that daily hurdles are what we go through every day.
Right.
You know, and just going over them.
So, but you have lived your life. You drive, you clean your own home, you do all these things. What is it like, and how do you get into your car? And
so I have a Chrysler Pacifica, and I have a special seat that comes out, and I transfer to the seat. Then I have what is called a wheelchair topper, and I put my wheelchair in this, and it goes on the top of the van. I wanted to leave the middle part open because I would like to start my own business in my van. And
you'll have to tell us about that in a minute.
Yes, I will tell you about that.
Yeah.
And so my house is completely accessible. I designed it when I bought this house, and I had to retrofit it so that it would be completely accessible, except for the kitchen, but that's what I'm working on right now. It's phase 6.
Right.
But the bathroom and the bedroom and everything are larger and accessible for me to be able to move around, do my laundry. My laundry room is in my bathroom, so it's right on the same floor.
So you really have laid out a roadmap for other people who might be facing the same challenges, that this is possible.
I'd love to invite anybody that wants to come and see what I've done to come and see my house.
That's great. Kate, tell us about this new job that you're starting. So you just retired, and now you're starting a new company.
So I'm starting what I'm calling Tutor on Wheels, and I have a portable classroom in my new van. It'll be completely COVID friendly. Well, not COVID friendly, but you know what I mean. The students can come in. They have a desk in the van. They can sit on the back seat.
So this is one-on-one.
This is one-on-one, and I'm getting it up. I'm getting it ready. It's going to be. I already tutor one student, but not as well as I want to right now.
And so this is perfect, because in this time of COVID, when so many kids need extra support, but they can't go to school in real time, they have to, if they're struggling learning online, you can drive your van to them. You don't have to get out of your van and into their home.
Right, which I can't most of the time.
Right, but they can come to you and have a teacher with 33 years experience really give them the one-on-one, in-person education that they need.
Yes, I'm very excited about it.
Okay, go Tutor on Wheels. Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. So, Kate, what is your secret for happiness? And do you have a bit of wisdom or some advice to pass on to us, especially as we, in our prime, we like to say, continue to explore new possibilities?
The biggest help in my life has been my family and my friends, and my boyfriend, who are support for me all the time anyway. But I think that if people are having difficulties, ask for help, get counseling. I went through a lot of counseling after my accident. Within 2 years I was in a wheelchair, and my husband left me for another woman. So I was kind of messed up at that time. Right. So get counseling, get help. Do what you need to do to stay happy, and keep a sense of humor.
Okay, that's great. Kate, I know that you have lots of artistic skills, and that you've made jewelry, and that you've illustrated children's books, and you knit and paint. I wish we had more time to hear about that. But do you have a website that folks can see that on?
Yes, I have a website on Etsy. It's called Creates with a K by Kate on the Etsy. Then I'm selling my jewelry, my crocheting. I'm starting to make wind chimes, a bunch of different things.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you on today's show. As women in our prime, may we all call forth the wisdom, perseverance, courage, and maybe stubbornness like Kate to thrive in every single day. Like Kate, may you inspire all who you meet just by the way you live your life to the fullest. And may you receive the support you need and willingly pass it on. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.